Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu, we can hear now.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, my dear devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 21, verse or text number 23, and which says, the Supreme Lord said, having come to know what was in your mind, I have already arranged for that for which you have worshipped me well through your mental and sensory discipline. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead in His Paramatma feature is situated in everyone's heart. He knows, therefore, the past, present, and future of every individual person, as well as his desires, activities, and everything about him. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that he is seated in the heart as a witness. The personality of Godhead knew the heart's desire of Kardama Muni, and he had already arranged for the fulfillment of his desires. He never disappoints a sincere devotee, regardless of what he wants, but he never allows anything which will be detrimental to the individual's devotional service. Well, this is really good information. And it just shows how merciful Krishna is to his devotees. And Krishna, of course, is in the heart of every living entity. Therefore, he knows what is in our mind. And he, it says here, having come to know what was in your mind, I have already arranged for that for which you have worshipped me well through your mental and sensory discipline. So he has already arranged the things in the life of the devotee so that uh, the devotee can worship Krishna uh, with his mental and sensory discipline. Okay, so that is important if you are interested in making spiritual advancement. That means when Krishna sees how serious the devotee is, he makes sure that the devotee can achieve his desire of pleasing the Lord. And it says here, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this is Canto 3, Chapter 21, Text 23. The Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Paramatma feature is situated in everyone's heart. He knows, therefore, the past, present, and future of every individual person, as well as his desires, activities, and everything about him. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that he is seated in the heart as a witness. The personality of Godhead knew the heart's desire of Kardama Muni, and he had already arranged for the fulfillment of his desires. He never disappoints a sincere devotee, regardless of what he wants, but he never allows anything which will be detrimental to the individual's devotional service. Well, that just shows how important it is to become a devotee and how much of a blessing it is to become a devotee. Because Krishna is a loving person. He is going to do, he's going to satisfy all the desires of the devotee to engage in devotional service. And he's going to help the devotee avoid anything which will be detrimental to the devotee's devotional service. That is a great, great benefit of being a devotee of the Lord. We should all strive to remain under the protection of the Lord in this way, so that we can offer some service to the Lord and be always protected by the Lord. And that why? Because Krishna never disappoints a sincere devotee, regardless of what he wants. But he never allows anything which will be detrimental to the individual's devotional service. It's an amazing statement. And that just proves how merciful Krishna is toward his devotee. Okay, so now we'll go on to text 24. The Lord continued, my dear Rishi, O leader of the living entities, for those who serve me in devotion by worshiping me, especially persons like you who have given up everything unto me, there is never any question of frustration. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Even if he has some desires, one engaged in the service of the Lord is never frustrated. Those engaged in his service are called sakama and akama. Those who approach the Supreme Personality Godhead with desires for material enjoyment are called sakama. And those devotees who have no material desires for sense gratification, but serve the Supreme Lord out of spontaneous love for him, are called akam. The kama devotees are divided into four classes: those in distress, those in need of money, the inquisitive, and the wise. Someone worships the Supreme Lord because of bodily or mental desires. I'm sorry, bodily or mental distress. Someone else worships the Supreme Lord because he is in need of money. Someone else worships the Lord out of inquisitiveness, to know him as he is. And someone wants to know the Lord as a philosopher. And someone wants to know the Lord as a philosopher can know him by the research work of his wisdom. There is no frustration for any of these four classes of men. Each is endowed with the desired result of his worship. Okay, so basically there are four types of devotees that approach the Lord favorably. So those are: someone worships the Lord because of bodily or mental distress. Someone worships the Supreme Lord because he is in need of money. Someone else worships the Lord out of inquisitiveness, to know him as he is. And someone else wants to know the Lord as a philosopher can know him, by the research work of his wisdom. And there's no frustration for any of these four classes of men. Each is endowed with the desired result of his worship. Why? Because he's approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. If someone is approaching another person who's not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the result will not be the same. But if someone worships Krishna, the Supreme Lord, then the Lord will help him, even if it is some desire, some material desire, like need of money, or inquisitiveness, or someone who wants to actually know Krishna philosophically, by the research work of his wisdom. In other words, there's no frustration for any of these four classes of men. Each is endowed with the desired result of his worship. Sorry. So someone may want to need, or is in need of money, or is inquisitive to know Krishna, or he wants to know the Lord as a philosopher can know him by research work of his wisdom, or someone has mental distress. So these different four categories of people that worship the Lord reciprocates. And in other words, there is no frustration for any of these four classes of men. Each is endowed with the desired result of his worship of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Okay, so what can be expected if one surrenders to the Lord? Well, this, that's the whole point of this verse, Canto 3, chapter 21, verse 24. For those who serve me in devotion by worshiping me, especially persons like you, who's you, Kartama Muni, uh, who have given up everything unto me, there is never any question of frustration. Hmm. Well, in the material world today, there's a lot of frustration. Why? Because uh, many people are not interested in understanding who God is or who Krishna is, and therefore they're frustrated. Why are they frustrated? Because they're always uh, seeking um, something in the wrong place. There was once a man, he lost his keys and he was looking for his keys. It was at night. And another man came and said, "Sir, did you lose something?" He said, "Yes." He said, "What did you lose?" He said, "My keys." He said, "Where did you lose them?" He said, "Something somewhere out there." Then the man said, "But why are you looking for them here if it's somewhere out there?" He said, "Well, there's light here. There's no light out there." So you think he's going to find his keys? No way. Or as they say in English, no way, Jose. I don't know who Jose is, but anyway, that's the same. So that's the problem in life today. Everyone's looking for something, but they're looking in the wrong place and they'll never find it. So, uh, why are we reading the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam? It's to know how to actually connect to Krishna. That's the whole purpose of yoga, is connecting to Krishna. And the more you know about Krishna, the more you connect to Krishna. That's why we are studying Bhagavad Gita every day. We want to be always connected to the Lord. That's the real purpose of yoga. Now, that means that all the people who are doing the calisthenic yoga, look at that word, calisthenic. That means they're doing gymnastic uh, position, uh, and they're calling it yoga. It's not really yoga. It's just uh, exercising the body in different ways, or twisting the body like a pretzel. If you know what a pretzel is, yes,
Equipment. Example of calisthenic exercises include push-ups, crunches, and burpees.
right, right. So that has nothing to do with yoga. Uh, that has a lot to do with, the body, but not with the desire to connect to Krishna, which is the real purpose of yoga. Okay, so uh, there's an interesting point we have to think about, and we should actually meditate on. The body that we have does not actually belong to us. And we're not really controlling the body. We think we are, but we're not actually in control of it. Krishna is controlling the body. Now, at the same time, Krishna knows what we want. And according to what we want, and also according to our karma from previous life, uh, then Krishna rewards us happiness or misery, according to our previous karma and according to the desires that we have presently. This is a very subtle point. We don't really understand our position in this world. Well, I'm not saying everybody doesn't understand, but most people don't understand. Therefore, they merrily go along engaging in sense gratification, and they end up in their next life as animals. Of course, once they're an animal, they identify themselves as an animal, and they don't think that there's any wrong by being an animal. There's anything wrong with being an animal. At one time, Prabhupada was giving a lecture, and he said, "And if you do not chant Hare Krishna in your next life, you'll be an animal." Some man raised his hand and said, "Well, what's wrong with being an animal? I don't think there's anything wrong with that." Prabhupada said, "Okay, then I bless you to be an animal." And everyone, sort of held their breath when they heard that, because that means that guy was going to actually become an animal his next life. Prabhupada blessed him to be an animal. But this is how stupid people are. Uh, they don't they don't really understand what their position is in this world. And what does that mean exactly? It means that, look, if you have a human body, that you're very fortunate. And the human body has a much higher, let's say, level of responsibility than if someone has the animal body, or even worse, the body of a worm, or a body of a snake. Uh, the human body means there's a lot more responsibility than if you have an animal body. And what is that responsibility? The responsibility is not to use the human body for sense gratification, but to use it for yoga. What does yoga mean? Yoga means coming closer to Krishna. That's the real meaning of it. It's not just doing uh, calisthenics, or uh, twisting the body this way and that way. It's always thinking of Krishna and engaging in the service of the Lord. Now you're using your body and your mind always in Krishna consciousness. So that is the perfection of yoga. Now, the people who talk about yoga, most of the time, they don't really understand what yoga is. They think it's a way of making the body stronger or healthier, etc. But that has nothing to do with yoga. Yoga means how you can connect to Krishna. And the way you connect to Krishna is through not simply bodily exercises. When you do, asanas and pranayama, this thing and that thing, those are mostly bodily exercises to help keep the mind, let's say, focused on one thing. But what is that one thing? That one thing should be Krishna. It shouldn't be, oh, I want to get healthier, or I want to have a nicer body, or I want to be stronger, etc. That one thing is how to please Krishna. Okay, so, but many people, if you say, okay, look, the real yoga is to chant Hare Krishna, they'll just laugh at you and say, "No, that's not yoga." uh, and then they get caught in this net of uh, going nowhere very quickly uh, because they have uh, no purpose to accomplish except to uh, take care of their body. They don't have any spiritual purpose. So the body has two functions. It has a material function and it has the potential for a spiritual function. So when one becomes spiritually enlightened, they decrease the material function and increase the spiritual function. You have to have both functions because there has to be maintenance of the body. But one can limit the maintenance of the body and increase one's activities in Krishna consciousness. So that means one is making spiritual progress. But when you increase body maintenance and decrease the effort to understand and to actually function in the devotional service of the Lord, at that point, one becomes trapped by Maya. And Maya is very interesting. It's like, for example, I remember one time I was long time ago. I was in at the beach somewhere, and I was building a sand castle, and it was like we spent hours doing it, and while I was doing it, it was a sunny day, and parts of the sand castle seemed to be uh, like shining, like gold. And I was thinking, oh my God, this is gold. Actually, it wasn't gold, right? But it looked like it. Let's say. And I was thinking, oh, this is wonderful. I'm uh, I'm making this palace, and some of the palace is made out of gold. So uh, sometimes we become tricked like that. Why? Because if we have attachment to sense gratification, then our mind can play tricks on us. And those tricks are very dangerous because what are the tricks? We don't see things properly. We don't perceive things properly. And because of that, we go on a tangential uh, path away from Krishna. So, one time, a man was he was basically thinking about how nice it would be to engage in sense gratification, and he was imagining that he was in a position where he was engaged in sense gratification, and he became oblivious of where he was, and his mind was completely focused in a dreamlike state, and he was enjoying it. And then one thing led to another, and then he was jolted, or he was shocked out of his dream state, and then he realized it was only a dream; it was not real. And then he tried to hold on to the dream, but now he couldn't go back. So these types of mental tricks that the mind plays on us is due to the desire for sense gratification. And that's when we become tricked. And we pursue things that are illusory. Like, for example, the biggest hoax in the world is the attempt to go to the moon and to other planets. Why do people want to do that? I don't know. Do you want to go to the moon? But uh, they think, well, this planet is not good anymore. There's a lot of ecological contamination, and we won't be able to live here anymore. Therefore, we should go to the moon. So you have idiots like Elon Musk and people like that. It says, well, the future of humanity is the moon, and we'll have to build, uh, our uh, houses on the moon. So some people actually believe that. And they say, well, we'll all be living on the moon soon, because we can't live on the Earth. There's too much contamination on the Earth. Well, wait a minute. If there's contamination on the Earth, why don't you fix that? Then you won't have to go to the moon, right? Uh, but anyway, nobody's going to the moon. Let's get it straight. I can tell you right now, nobody is going to the moon, and there's not going to be any buildings on the moon or whatever. The whole thing is just phony. Uh, will of the wisp. Will of the wisp. Look that up. Will of the wisp. And the trouble is, though, that people want to believe things that are impossible to achieve. And instead of trying to understand their relationship with Krishna, they develop faith in these things that are impossible to achieve. What does it say? Will of the wisp. Yes.
There are multiple matches for will of the wisp.
Okay, wait a minute. Louder and slower.
There are multiple matches for will of the wisp, including a ghostly light, a video game, and a comic book character. Will o the wisp. Will o the wisp. A ghostly light or flame. A ghostly light or flame like phosphorescence. Phosphorescence is sometimes seen at night over marshes, swamps, or bogs. It is also known as ignis fatuus, or corpse candle, and it is believed to be caused by the spontaneous combustion of methane or other hydrocarbons from decomposing organic matter. In folklore, the will of the wisp was personified as a sprite named Will the Wisp, who would lead
I'm not understanding what you're reading. Okay, let your father read it. What's
These
with
things
the
were
ghost?
a ghostly light or flame like phosphorescence that is sometimes seen at night over marshes, swamps, or bogs. It is also known as corpse candle and is believed to be caused by the spontaneous combustion of methane or other hydrocarbons from decomposing organic matter.
Right. In other words, something is heating up the earth,
Yeah.
and you see like smoky things coming up out of it. It looks like a ghost.
Ghost, yeah.
Right. And there's places like that, but there's no real ghost, but it looks like that because of the heated earth, and then you see it from a distance and you think it's like a ghost. And this is what actually the idea that people are going to go to the moon or go to Mars, it's not possible because there are living entities on every planet. And there are ways to go to the different planets, but it's not with rockets and different types of material mechanisms. If you want to go to the moon, then you have to worship the deity on the moon, right? Deity of the moon, and eventually, you your next body will be suitable to live on the moon, and you can go there. So there is a way for people to go to the moon, but it's not by building a rocket that goes to the moon. It's not feasible because even if the rocket lands on the moon, you won't be able to live there because your body is not made in such a way that it can survive in the atmosphere of the moon or any other planet. So people are not doing the right thing to go to the moon. Actually, it's not difficult to go to the moon, but you would have to meditate and develop the type of body that's required to go to the moon. Yeah, and you don't need a rocket ship to go to the moon. You can be transferred there when you have the suitable body to do it. So people don't understand the power of focused desire. In other words, when Krishna is in your heart, and Krishna is in the heart of every living entity, and when the devotee has a very strong desire and is meditating on it all the time, uh, and Krishna will satisfy the devotee's desire. So, if that desire is to go to the moon, then you would have to meditate on it and actually pray to the Lord to help you achieve that goal. So man proposes and God disposes. So everything depends on what we're desiring. And if we desire to go to the moon, then you don't need a rocket to take you to the moon. If you have that strong desire, then Krishna will help you. Of course, you'll have to have the body that's suitable to live on the moon. So all those things will be taken care of by Krishna, so that you can next life be born on the moon. It's not by having a rocket ship and having a moon uh, uh, suit on that you're going to go to the moon. Uh, you see these pictures, of people who so-called went to the moon and have a moon, uh, you know, uh, clothing on, uh, and The whole thing is a Hollywood production. It's not reality, but it looks real. And, but if you carefully analyze the pictures of the moon landing, you'll see that it is a Hollywood production. It's not real. And if you look at the fine print of these Hollywood productions, it always says it's a simulated landing on the moon. Look that up. Simulated landing on the moon. Yeah, 19, what was it, 68, 69, when they landed on the moon and they were showing it on television. It also said simulated landing on the moon. Or simulated landing on Mars, same thing. What does it say? What does that mean? Simulated landing. What does it say? What is a simulated landing? See it?
Showing some videos.
It says, Maharaj, an aeroplane,
A what?
an airplane pilot training device in which the cockpit and the instruments of an airplane are duplicated and the conditions of actual flight are simulated.
Yeah, you don't really fly through the air. It's simulated. It's all the conditions of flight are, let's say, they are simulated or they are artificially made but you never really fly through the air, you know. So this basically the moon landing that was shown on television in, was it 1969, was a simulated, production. How do we know that? Well, we know that because there was no, uh, production. There was no, let's say, the people that went on the moon, they didn't have cameramen with them. They, actually, there were only two people, right? And there was no cameraman. So how could they, show people what was happening? Well, it was all a production, not actually a real moon landing. They didn't take cameramen with them. They didn't take cameras with them. Uh, so the whole thing was a production, like a Hollywood movie. So let's understand what's happening because of Hollywood and production movies and things like that. It's possible to trick people to think that there is actually such a thing as a moon landing that Americans did or someone else did. By the way, did the Russians say, did they also show uh, moon landing of uh, of their people? See if you can look that up. Because the Russians were also trying to go to the moon. It wasn't only the United States.
Soviet crewed lunar programs were a series of programs pursued by the Soviet Union to land humans on the moon in a competition with the United States Apollo program. The Soviet government publicly denied participating in such a
What? What word was that? Denied?
Yeah.
Okay, it means that they, when it says it denied, yeah, it was something that was, well, go ahead, read the rest of it. Yeah.
Pursued two programs in the 1960s, crewed lunar flyby missions using Soyuz-7KL-1 Zond spacecraft launched with the Proton K rocket, and a crewed lunar landing using Soyuz 7K, LOK, and LK spacecraft launched with the M1 rocket. Following the dual American success of the first crewed lunar orbit on 24th to 25th December 1960 at Apollo 8 and the first moon landing on July 20th, 1969, Apollo 11, and a series of catastrophic N-1 failures, both Soviet programs were eventually brought to an end. The proton-based Zond program was canceled in 1970, and the N-1L3 program was de facto terminated in 1974 and officially canceled in 1976. Details of both Soviet programs were kept secret until 1990 when the government allowed them to be published under the policy of Glasnost.
Yeah. So you see, the Soviets' attempt to go to the moon failed. And the United States' attempt to go to the moon also failed. But the United States falsified their moon landing by making a Hollywood production of it and claimed that they actually did go to the moon, when actually they didn't go to the moon. If they did go to the moon 60 years ago, what did they have to show for it? Nothing. That means they never went. The whole thing is hoax. And they're still trying to go to the moon. Now they're saying, oh, we have to go to the moon again. You know? So they never went in the first place, and they have nothing to show for it. And now they're trying to go back to the moon. So we're being lied to. So why would a government do that? Well, the Russians were first to put satellites going around the Earth. I forget the name of the satellite. It's Sputnik. Yeah. The first Sputnik, first satellite put in the space. But that satellite is only like, I don't know, maybe 20 miles or 40 miles up in the sky. That's all. That is the sum total of the universal what do you call it? Research. Why don't you look it up? The satellites that they put up in don't go more than maybe 40 miles or 50 miles up into the air. And they call that, their research of the universe. How many miles do they go? So basically, They are wasting a huge amount of money. They're declaring things that are not true. And people have no way of validating if it's true or not. I mean, are you going to build a rocket ship to go to the moon? No, you have no way of doing it. So basically, no one can actually validate if what they're saying is true. What does it say?
So the first satellite to travel to the moon was the Soviet spacecraft Luna 1,
Yeah.
launched on Jan 2nd, 1959, as part of the Soviet lunar program. Luna 1 was intended to impact the moon's surface. However, it missed the moon and instead became the first human-made object to enter heliocentric orbit. The Luna 1 traveled approximately 238,000 miles from Earth to the moon's vicinity, which is the average distance between the Earth and the moon. After missing its target, Luna 1 continued on into a heliocentric orbit around the sun. In heliocentric orbit, it traveled at varying distances from the sun, depending on its position in its orbit. However, the initial journey from Earth to the moon's vicinity covered the distance mentioned above.
So it was a failure.
Luna 1, yes, Maharaj.
Not only Lunar 1, Lunar, all of them. All of them are failures. They're still trying.
So I was just asking ChatGPT about how many humans went to the moon. The Apollo program conducted by the NASA successfully landed astronauts on the moon between 1969 and 1972. There are a total of 12 humans, starting from Neil Armstrong to Harrison Schmitt, the last person to walk on the moon. And why they did not go back to the moon from 1972 is because of cost and political and strategic priorities due to technological focus, scientific priorities, and international collaboration and competition. These are the reasons why they did not go back.
They did not go back because they never went.
Right.
And they didn't want to waste any more money.
Maybe they are covering it up as
Yeah. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And people still believe that they went to the moon. So there's a saying, if you're going to lie, you may as well make a big lie that people will be afraid to deny because it's such a colossal lie. Because if the lie, if something that you believe is actually a lie, it's difficult to accept it. Because then you would look like a fool, right? You believe the big hoax. So that's why they can't say that the whole thing was a Hollywood production, because if they did, they would lose any possibility of being funded again. Everything is based on funding, and no. So why did they stop trying to go to the moon? Because they didn't want to waste any more money on it. If they actually did go to the moon, they would have something to show for it, and they would keep going back to the moon, you know. But they didn't want to waste any more money because they didn't actually go. Everything is based. Oh, you have to follow the money trail. See, if you spend, billions of dollars to achieve something, but you don't achieve it, then what do? You stop trying to do it. And that's exactly what happened. They stopped trying to go to the moon. They stopped trying to go to Mars. They just talk about it now. They don't actually do it because it's a waste of money. Okay, so we will not be fooled by these nonsense people anymore. If you want to go somewhere, you should want to go back to Godhead. And that is something that you can do. But you don't need a rocket. Haribo, oh, praise Srila Prabhupada ki. So the thing that we should meditate on is the following. It's from the last sentence of text, Canto 3, text 21. Canto 3, chapter 21, text 23. It says, the personality of Godhead knew the heart's desire of Kardama Muni, and he had already arranged for the fulfillment of his desires. He, meaning Krishna, never disappoints a sincere devotee, regardless of what he wants, but he never allows anything which will be detrimental to the individual's devotional service. That is a very profound statement, and that is what we should believe. If you want to believe something, you should believe that statement right there. Canto 3, chapter 21, text 23. Thank you very much, my dear devotees. Please chant Hare Krishna and don't believe anything that the United States moon landing people talk about, because it's all a hoax. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now, if you tell someone, we never went to the moon, the United States never went to the moon, they'll argue with you like anything. We saw it on television. What do you mean? We have plenty of proof. No, it's all a hoax.
They will think we're crazy. We're
Yeah.
telling something.
Yeah, I think that you're smoking marijuana. Oh my God. You see how when there's a big lie, people are afraid to say it's a lie.
Yeah, they're so smart, Maharaj. They know we can do so much big lie, and no one will challenge.
No one to challenge because they don't want to look like a fool. Haribo. All glories to Prabhupada ki jai. What's nice is that Prabhupada never lies to us. Tells us the truth all the time. And therefore it says here that the Lord never disappoints a sincere devotee, regardless of what he wants. But he never allows anything which will be detrimental to the individual's devotional service. Hare Krishna. That way we won't have to waste our time trying to do things that are impossible. Krishna won't allow it because it will be detrimental. Haribol. Thank you. All praise to Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. If you become a devotee, then Krishna is going to protect you from making these big mistakes that the materialists are making. And, just lose your your energy and time pursuing things that are impossible to achieve. But that's what's going on today. Many things that are impossible to achieve, they're trying to achieve, and they're spending huge amount of money to do it and wasting a lot of time and basically lying to the people. Haribol. All glories to Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna devotees will end the call.